What's up, everybody? It's your cosmic homegirl, and I'm doing this video per lots of requests. So I am not fly enough to be on camera today, okay? So I'm just gonna have some pictures and natal charts on the screen to cover Cardi B and her new baby. So she gave birth to a baby girl named Kulture on July 10th of 2018. The birth time is unknown at this time unless TMZ gets a hold of the birth certificate and the birth certificate actually has a time on it. Until then, we may not know because with her having some Scorpio energy in her chart, which we will get into, she probably knows some things about astrology and that people will know a lot about her baby. And she's all about her privacy not being invaded. Yes, pun intended, okay? So she probably won't put the birth time out there since she knows some things, I'm pretty sure. But let's take a look at Cardi and her relationship and her baby. I really love to dive deep into these charts, okay? I can go on and on and on and talk a lot, but I'm only going to touch a little bit on each thing, on her relationship, and then the baby's chart, and tell you guys what I see. So this is Cardi B's chart. Now, Cardi B does not have her birth time published anywhere either publicly, but I am an intuitive astrologer. That means that I feel out the energies of people, and the signs are energies. Okay, they're energies. We all have a mixture of different ones. So when I pick up on energies from people, it's of the sign itself or of the planet that sign is ruled by, or some sort of aspect that gives the same characteristics of a certain sign. And if you're not an advanced nerd in astrology, I'm sorry, boo, you may not even understand what I'm talking about. But what I mean by that is when I'm picking up on energies of people and I say I get the energy of blah 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 sign, like I get a lot of Gemini from Cardi B. So, and people will come and argue and say, Cardi B's a Libra, she's not a Gemini. Okay, listen, that means that if we knew her birth time, we can see if she has a Gemini rising, or if she has planets in her third house, or if she has Mercury in her first house. You know what I'm saying? There could be the puzzle. You just got to figure out the combination of where things fit into place, where the pieces fit. And if you don't have a birth time, it could be rearranged in several different ways. There's many different possibilities, but the general energy, is still radiated off of that person. So she radiates a lot of like hella Gemini energy. So I just made this chart for her, with an evening birth time that makes a lot of sense when I look at it and I look at the timeline of events of things that have happened to her and everything. So, and if you guys watch any of her Instagram lives or any of her videos, any footage of her anywhere, she is very mercurial in nature. She's very Gemini. She's very quick-witted. Gemini is the sign that rules rapping as well. And a lot of people will argue and say, well, not all rappers are Geminis. That's another thing. The energy of Gemini rules rapping. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, which rules communication. It rules having the gift of gab. Geminis naturally have the gift of gab. They naturally have a lot of quick wit. They're able to just come up with things on the spot. They're wordsmiths, you know what I'm saying? So it means that the rapping itself is ruled by Gemini. That's why we find a lot of rappers being Gemini suns, or having other planets in Gemini, or being Gemini risings, or having planets in their third house. And once again, if you don't know someone's birth time and you don't know how to look up a full astrology birth chart, that's when you won't understand what I mean by Gemini rules rapping, okay? So back to Cardi. I sense so much Gemini energy from her, for many reasons, and I have observed a lot of her interviews and her videos on her own social media. And I know this is like some mad like Scorpio, like Scorpio rising, noticing everything. I noticed that whenever the moon is in your sign, like if this is a day where the moon is in Gemini and you're a Gemini or Gemini rising, then you're going to be, your Gemini energy is going to be activated more. And I noticed that she would go live when the moon is in Gemini a lot. That's when she's a little bit more talkative. And I just observed some little nuances with that. So that's also how I came up with Gemini rising. She has a face, you know, because the signs that are within you can also dictate your appearance. And her face shape is like long. She has like a long face, which a lot of times is associated. Gemini is one of the signs that it's associated with. So she has a Gemini appearance to her, as well as her personality and her attitude is very Gemini. So anyway, a Gemini rising, that's what I see for her. And also her sun in Libra, that would put it in the 5th house of her chart. And the 5th house is an energy that's very similar to Leo. It's all about partying. It's all about having a good time. It's all about showing off your talents, and you're not afraid to. And just putting yourself out there with like mad confidence, you know. And even though she does have issues with her self-esteem, which is found elsewhere in her chart, for the most part, I mean, hello, in order to be putting yourself out there in public in any type of way, Leo energy, 5th house energy, or the sun in a prominent place in your chart can equal somebody who isn't always so afraid to do so, you know. And then plus the sun in your chart is an indicator of qualities of your father. And she said that her father loves to party. She said even now at whatever age he is, he still loves to party, and that he will brag about her when her music is on and he's out somewhere. And 5th house energy is once again very similar to Leo. So parents with that energy will brag about their kids, you know. So anyway, and 5th house energy is very childlike, very childlike and fun. And that's a part of her personality too. So sun in the 5th house makes a lot of sense for her to me. Now, she has Mercury and Venus in Scorpio. So this is where the whole invasion of privacy thing comes in. This is why she named her album that. Well, probably unbeknownst to her, because she always talks about it's a Libra thing, it's a Libra thing. And I'm always like, girl, no, that part of your personality is probably your Aries moon, okay? Or your Venus in Scorpio that's showing, you know, not your sun sign. But, you know, Libra is not a sign that is jealous, not Libra within itself. But if you have planets in Scorpio, which a lot of Libras do because they neighbor each other on the zodiac wheel, you may have a tinge of jealousy or wanting to be more of a private person. You could be social, but then again, there's certain parts of your life that you want to keep to yourself. You don't want people to be all nosy up in your business. You know what I'm saying? So her having planets in Scorpio definitely adds that to her personality. So she is a private person. Mercury is the way that you think, is how you communicate. And, you know, Mercury in Scorpio, I find these people to be, this is one of several Mercury signs that could be very blunt and direct and just say things that people may find to be so shocking and, you know, and disturbing and hurtful. And to Scorpio energy is very familiar with the darker side of life. So the way in which she speaks is with that familiarity. I've been to the dark side and I'm not afraid of it, and I'm not afraid to speak on it or speak with that energy, you know what I'm saying, and just say things that other people will be shocked by, you know what I'm saying. So that's how she thinks. Her thinking is very Scorpio. So she's probably very paranoid about people being all in her private life and her business. Excuse me. And she always she expresses that anyway, but that's why, it's because of that Mercury. Now, if she has around the birth time that I kind of intuitively selected for her, that could put her Mercury in the 5th house. And 5th house is loud and proud, you know, so she does still speak in that manner, even though she has Mercury in a more private, quieter sign. You know, a lot of Mercury and Scorpio people, they don't really say much. They keep a lot to themselves. But if your Mercury is in a certain house in your chart, it gives it a different feel and flavor, you know. And then her Mercury makes a trine aspect to Mars, and Mars is aggression, you know, so the way that she speaks does have some aggression to it. Now, I use 2 different house systems, and if you're not an astrology nerd, once again, I'm sorry, boo boo, but you won't know what I'm talking about. But I use 2 different house systems. I use Placidus and I use whole sign, okay? So with Mercury being in Scorpio, and if Scorpio is the sign of her 6th house, that means her Mercury also has a 6th house flare to it, which 6th house energy is very into comedy, like making fun of, making light of the day to day, or like complaining about the day to day. Like, you ever notice how blah, 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 blah? You ever pay attention to this happening to you on a daily? That's 6th house energy. So her way of thinking and communicating may have that flair to it as well. And the 6th house is it corresponds to the energy of Virgo, because Virgo is the 6th sign on the zodiac wheel, you know. And so she gives off some Virgo vibes too. I catch Virgo and Gemini from her heavy. So this may be why she may have planets in her 6th house. Now let's look at her Venus. This is very important because as a woman who is who identifies as female and feminine, Venus is an important planet because it's how she expresses her femininity. So it's in the sign of Scorpio. So this is why she was in the industry that she was before she became a rapper or a social media phenomenon. You know, she, Venus in Scorpio, Scorpio is the sign that does rule sexuality. And her Venus here in the house of work and the job, and it's in a conjunction with Pluto. Pluto also rules the underworld, you know, the darker side of life and sexuality. It rules things like rape and, you know, like extreme things like that too. And it's in its home sign of Scorpio. So this is like a double, triple Scorpio thing that she has going on with her Venus, her womanhood and her expression of her femininity. So this is why she's not afraid to wear risque outfits or pose like damn near nude, you know, and to have a job to where she is nude or nearly nude. She's not afraid of it. Anybody who has has Venus in Scorpio or a heavy Scorpio influence, or they have planets conjunct Pluto, they're like, what? It's just a chi-chi. Don't act like you haven't seen it before. You know, everybody has them, so who cares? You know who's also like that? Amber Rose. And because Amber Rose has the sun in Libra, people say, oh, well, that's why. It's because they're both Libras. No, Amber Rose has planets conjunct Pluto, I believe, or in Scorpio. I know she has a heavy dose of that energy too. So that's why they could be exhibitionists, you know. Also, Kim Cattrall, the one that played Samantha on Sex and the City. She has the sun. She's a Leo, yes, but she has the sun conjunct Pluto. Okay, so that's why being naked was no big deal to her, you know? So that's why these women have that thing in common. They have this Pluto thing or a Scorpio thing going on. And if you're a Scorpio and you're not like that, good for you. You need to look at the rest of your chart, okay? Now, let's get back to Cardi B. So, her Venus and Pluto in Scorpio in the 6th house of work and the job could be why she had a past as being a stripper and was like, what's the big deal? I don't understand what the big deal is. You know, yeah, I was a stripper, so what? So also why she has such a strong element to her personality that does come off as a bit quote unquote masculine in nature. I'm not saying she's a man, okay? She's obviously a feminine woman, but she still has some masculine energy within her, which is why she's quick to pop off, she's quick to fight. Also why she was associated with gangs and, you know, wears the color red a lot is because of her Aries moon. The moon, it rules your emotional self, okay? Like how you express your emotions, how you absorb emotions, how you perceive things emotionally, how you take things when people say them or do them to you. So it's very Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Aries is a masculine sign. It's a fire sign. That's where she gets her feisty, fiery side from. So this is why, you know, the fighting and the, you know, association with gangs and stuff. And Aries is ruled by Mars, the red planet. And one of the colors, the main color associated with Aries is the color red. So that's why she likes the color red. Could be why she has an affiliation with a gang that waves the color red around, and rocks the color red. And it could be also why, she's very protective over her family. If somebody says something about her family, she'll be quick to pop off too. That Aries moon, Aries is it's a fighting energy, So this is why she says, I don't care if people talk about me on social media, I will clap back. That's that moon in Aries. She'll say it's a Libra thing, but no, Libras are more about diplomacy and harmony and peace and everything. The Libra energy by itself, okay, is like that. But if you were born on a full moon like she was, okay, a full moon is when the moon and the sun are in opposite signs. They're directly opposing one another. That causes tension in the air. That's why people get all low to the brain, insane, and, get all crazy on full moons, is because of that tension between those two luminaries in the sky. So she operates like that, like a full moon all the time. And that could be why she gets very sensitive. She does have some Cancer energy too. Her Mars is in Cancer. Mars is how you express your anger. And and also Cancer rules family. So this is another reason why she's like very protective over her family. Family is everything. She will fight anybody who talks about her family. And Cancer energy is it loves children. Cancer energy craves, it rules motherhood. So a lot of Cancerian born people, they really crave being a parent, a nurturer, or if they're a woman, they crave being a mother more than some other signs might. Now, one last thing about herself is if she is indeed a Gemini rising, as I suspect, she has Sagittarius as her seventh house of relationships, or her opposite sign is Sagittarius. And what that means is she likes a Sagittarian type of man. And Sag energy, it rules what is foreign or different from you. People from other countries, people from other, even like a different region of your country, but they're different than you are. Maybe they have a different skin tone, or they have a different dialect of the language that you guys both speak. They have an accent. All of that stuff is ruled by Sagittarius. So this could be why she has a preference for men who are different than she is. They look different. She likes, Offset is from Atlanta. That's a totally different vibe than from the Bronx, So this is why she probably likes, she has a preference for a certain type of men. And actually, Offset is a Sag, which we'll get into their relationship in a hot minute. But she prefers a Sag type of man, a man who likes to live it up. He likes to do it big. He doesn't see too many boundaries in life, and maybe likes to travel a lot, or they're just really adventurous in nature. So I will get into her relationship with Offset in a little bit. But with her career blowing up, if you guys notice, she has Jupiter in the sign of Libra in her birth chart. And it's in the fifth house, which can rule performances and performing arts and being center stage, like having the spotlight all on you, is the fifth house. So when Jupiter was in Libra, okay, Jupiter was in Libra up until 2017. It was from 2016 to 2017. It was in Libra. That was a really big time for her when she first started to really make it. Okay, she may have been popular already online, and that could be due to Uranus, the planet of the internet, hovering over her moon in Aries over the last several years. Uranus can bring sudden popularity amongst the masses. So if you notice, a lot of Aries people, Aries sun, moon, rising people, they were like taking over social media, YouTube, and all that stuff in really big ways. Since I'm gonna say like 2011 or 2012, they really started to boom. And I know other signs have too, but once again, if we don't know their birth chart, we don't know what could be hiding underneath the surface. We don't know what Aries could be under there. But she's an obvious Aries moon, and so Uranus could have brought her a big upshot to fame and made her act a little more kooky. Uranus is the planet of kookiness, of the weird, the out of this world, the against the norm. And she already has if her rising is Gemini, her moon is in the house, the 11th house, which rules all that same stuff. And then Uranus is there, you know, that could have brought her really big popularity. And then what brought the fame, which is the 5th house, you know, is Jupiter, her Jupiter return. Jupiter being in Libra in general, but specifically because it's her Jupiter return. Jupiter is a planet of opportunity. And so when you have your Jupiter return, that could be a year because it stays in a sign for 1 year only. That could be a big year for you where you have a lot of things thrown at you, you know, opportunities to travel or to advance your career or whatever. And she definitely took advantage of that. I always say that Jupiter is like, you know, when you play like the old school video games like Super Mario, right? And you know how he gets a superstar and then he becomes like invincible and he's just, you know, able to run through everything. Well, Jupiter's energy can kind of be like that when you have a significant Jupiter transit. So she became like unstoppable, you know, during that time. And then once Jupiter hit her sun, that was even more of an upshot into fame and everything. And now Jupiter is in the sign of Scorpio. And Jupiter has crossed over her Mercury, and Mercury is a planet that rules rapping. Okay. So what happened then? She was able to expand, which is Jupiter, upon rapping, which is Mercury. And then Jupiter hit her Venus. Okay. And Venus can rule love and relationships and stuff. So during that time, and Jupiter is still in Scorpio as I am recording this. It just went direct in Scorpio. It's in the middle degrees of it, but it will once again reach around that 20th degree of Scorpio that her Venus is at. And just Jupiter being in the sign of her Venus, even if it didn't like, you know, in the nerdy way we calculate by degrees and exact numbers and stuff, even if it didn't reach that, just being in the sign, it expands upon her love life. Okay, so that's why the engagement, the secret marriage, and the pregnancy because of Jupiter. And also, now here's the secrecy. It's all in the Scorpio, okay? That's why she got married privately. That's why she wanted to keep her pregnancy under wraps. Kylie Jenner is a Scorpio moon, and you guys saw me do her chart on my channel too with talking about her and her baby. She's a Scorpio moon, and she tried to keep her pregnancy private too. That's why, is because of that Scorpio energy that they have. And so that's why, you know, this whole secret thing was going on like with her private life. But when you're in the public eye, boo boo, it's just very hard, you know, to have a private life. And that's why she got kind of irritated and was like, yeah, nosy mother dug up my marriage certificate. Yeah, because, you know, Scorpios don't like people digging all in their business like that. I'm a Scorpio rising, so I can relate. I can't stand nosy people, even though Scorpios will know everything. They find out everything. And with her Mercury there, oh my gosh, I bet she knows a lot that she doesn't speak about. And her Venus and Pluto conjunction, it makes her very intuitive and psychic, like a magnet for hidden information when she's in a relationship. So I bet when people were posting all this stuff about her man, she probably already knew about it. She probably already knew. She's not dumb. You know, Libra people can come off sometimes to others as a little dingy or something because they appear to be nice and they try to keep the peace a lot. But her Scorpio energy knew already, okay? Knew that some things were, that's probably why she wanted to get married and have a baby right away to tie him down. You know, that Scorpio wants to possess somebody, mind, body, and soul. So that's Cardi's chart. I know I went through a lot of stuff with her chart, but we'll get to her baby at the very end. But let's look at her relationship with Offset really quick. But before we do, just remember, she has North Node in Sagittarius and she has Venus and Pluto in Scorpio. Okay, so let's pull up his chart. So here is Offset. His real name is Kiari. And honestly, I haven't really checked him out to get an intuitive feel for his ascendant, what it may possibly be, or any other energies in his chart. So I just created this chart, just a generic based at 6 a.m. Sunrise, you know, so that would put, you know, Sagittarius as first, and it would be kind of like a chart that's only based on the sun and looking at things from the sun perspective. So that's what we usually do as astrologers if we don't have a birth time, is we, look at it from a solar perspective. So anyway, now Offset, he's a Sagittarius. Look at that. He has the sun and Mars and Mercury all in Sagittarius. And this is another reason why I feel like Cardi B may be a Gemini rising, because that means all his Sag stuff is opposite to her rising. That means it lands in her relationship house, the house of compromise. This could be why she right away wanted to get married. Right away, they move very quickly, very fast in their relationship. A lot of times when somebody's planets land in the other person's seventh house, they tend to get together pretty quickly. They feel more drawn to each other, like we're supposed to be together. And a lot of times if they have differences, they'll try harder to work it out than maybe some other couples might. They'll feel like they need to stick together and, once again, compromise. And a lot of times these people, when they have this energy exchange, they feel like whatever problems come up, they don't feel like, oh, that's it, let's just run off. So this could be why Cardi is so dedicated to this relationship working, and no matter what it takes, because maybe Offset's Sag stuff falls in her seventh house, But also, even if Cardi is not, by my theory, a Gemini rising, she has the North Node in Sagittarius at 25 degrees of Sag, and Offset's sun is at 21 degrees of Sag. So what does that mean? Well, the North Node, it is one of those points that are in a chart that when someone else's planets come into contact with your North Node, you feel like it's a part of your destiny to be with that person. Those are one of those soulmate. When someone's like, oh, this person is my soulmate, they're my twin flame, all that stuff. You can see when somebody has that nodal conjunction that they have, why they have that feeling, because the North Node in particular is your karmic destiny in this lifetime. Okay, like the direction, it's north, up, right? So what's your highest achievement in life is dictated by the North Node. It's one of a few things that dictate that. So if his sun, the sun is a guiding light, right? So she feels like he's a guiding light towards her life purpose and destiny. So that's another glue that is making them stick together as a couple. Now, Offset's moon might be Pisces. Unless he was born at night, then he could be an Aries moon. And Pisces is a sign that is very heavily involved in music and entertainment as well. It's one of the ones that are the most involved. And so he could be a Pisces moon. But like I said, I have to watch interviews. I have to get a feel for, I can read people's energy through video. It doesn't matter that they're not physically in front of me, like they say things, they behave in certain ways, and I analyze all of that and I catch it, and then I get a vibe of like what energy that comes from, aka what sign, So I don't really know if he could be a Pisces or Aries moon, but it's either or. But if he was an Aries moon, I think that would be dope, because Cardi is an Aries moon. So that means that the way that they can emotionally really connect to one another and relate to how each other expresses their emotions. Like Aries moons can get buck, okay? They can get loped like crazy, and that may be something that helps him to deal with her feistiness, and if she has an attitude, or if that Aries masculinity comes out sometimes, he may be able to handle it. He's like, I get it, I'm the same way, But even if not, he's a Sagittarius. He's got 3 planets in Sag, so he's got a lot of fire energy. So and she's got that fiery moon, so that could be why also like he's able to handle that part of her better than maybe some other men could. What else about there? Oh, now the only other thing I'm going to point out, because like I said, I don't really know the dude like personally, but what I mean by that is what I said before. I never really looked at his personality in a deep way, but they both have Venus in Scorpio. He and Cardi both have Venus in Scorpio. They're at different degrees, but hey, you know what? His Venus in Scorpio is at the 9th degree. And that is in a conjunction with her Mercury in Scorpio. So Venus and Mercury contacts between one another. Well, that means that the way someone like Venus sweetens things up. So he can probably sweet talk her pretty well, you know, with his Venus landing on her Mercury, or she could do the same thing, or it could be an equal exchange with how they talk to each other. You know, they understand each other on a romantic level because of that. And with Venus being for men who are hetero and they identify as male, you know, that like women being in Scorpio, well, he likes a Scorpio woman. He likes a woman that's got a Scorpio flair to her, you know. And with Cardi having Venus and Mercury there, well, there you go. You know, that's his type of woman. He likes them to dress the way she dresses and to act the way she acts. So even if she is kind of possessive or jealous or something, he may dig that. You know, some guys, the Venus and Scorpio guys are the ones that are like, that's cool, that's normal to me. You know what I'm saying? No problem here. And another thing is, they both have Pluto at the 21st degree of Scorpio. Okay, they both have Pluto at 21 degrees of Scorpio, and her Venus is 20 degrees of Scorpio. See, this is why exact birth date and birth time matter for those who are not astrology nerds, because we look at the degree, we look at the movement, the exact point that it was at. It's mathematics here. So her Venus is conjunct his Pluto and conjunct her own Pluto. A Venus and Pluto, let me tell you guys from experience, that is a crazy, that's one of those crazy relationship. If you guys haven't seen my crazy relationship video, it's here on my channel. Watch it, because I think I may have talked about this. I had a relationship like that, and it was insane and a roller coaster ride. There was extreme highs and extreme lows. So when things were good, they were so like, oh my gosh, blissful, wonderful. It was crazy, the chemistry and how we could read each other's minds, and we knew what each other was doing and thinking. We would try to call each other at the same time and get a busy signal, you know, or get voicemail or whatever. And I would look out the window and I would just get an urge like, la la la, I'm gonna look out the window randomly. And then here comes the dude coming up in his car to my house. Like, and I wasn't expecting him because he had, you know, Venus and Pluto conjunction. So he would just be sneaky and pop up thinking he's going to catch me in something, because that aspect can be very suspicious all the time. So he would pop up in my house and I would just look out the window and be like, oh, he's here. I wasn't expecting him. That happened all the time. It's too many, like, there's too many like synchronicities that happen when you have this conjunction. It's such a psychic energy to where you guys are digging into each other's souls. You know what I'm saying? It's that deep. So because of that, this is also one of those, you know, Pluto can rule vampires, werewolves, all that like scary horror movie stuff, you know, and monsters and all that. Pluto rules all that stuff too. So the vampire part though, that means somebody that can like be an energy vampire. They want to suck the soul and the life out of you. They want to possess every little piece of you, of your being. So they have that conjunction together. So they can be like that towards each other. Okay, like a lot of times people say, oh, women are crazy, they're psycho, they do. No, trust me, with this kind of connection, he may do some crazy stuff too. You never know. You know, like I said, when I was in a relationship like that, the dude was more crazier than me, okay? With all the suspicions and, you know, investigations and all this stuff all the time. So, hey, they may have that, but you know what? It can be a positive thing, even though it could be a little crazy. It could be a good thing, something that really ties their souls together and makes them feel like the need to merge, you know, the need to merge souls, you know. So they have that conjunction, which is awesome. Now, another thing is she has Mars in Cancer. That means Mars for women is one of the indicators of the type of man that she likes in her life. And so she likes a man who is family oriented. All the things that Cancer rules, she likes a man that is into that. Now, I don't know if Offset is very family oriented. I know he has a lot of kids, so he obviously likes kids or likes creating them at least. But for their daughter, which I'm going to segue into her chart in a sec, for their daughter to be born with the sun in Cancer, the sun representing the father and what you inherited as far as your characteristics from your father, he has to have some Cancer energy somewhere. He could be a Cancer rising. He could have, planets in his fourth house. All of those or the moon in the first house, all of those can equivalate to Cancer, quote unquote, Cancer energy and characteristics. So he obviously passed some of that down to her daughter. So he obviously possesses some of it somehow. So that means that with Cardi having Mars, Min, in Cancer, he fits the bill some kind of way. If we knew his birth time, we could figure that out, okay? So that's a little bit about their relationship. Now, for the grand finale, which you guys have been waiting for, let's look at their daughter Kulture's chart. Okay, so this is little baby Kulture Kiari's chart. And so she was born on July 10th of 2018. We don't have her birth time. However, it was reported that she was allegedly born at night. Okay, now night can mean, at least to me, it can mean anywhere from like 6 p.m. until midnight. So if she was born at 6 p.m., she'd be a Sag rising. At 8 p.m., she'd be a Cap rising. Around 10 p.m., she'd be an Aquarius rising. And if she were born after 11:02 p.m., she would be a Pisces rising. Yes, your girl does her research, okay? She's a nerd, yes. So we don't know her rising sign because we don't know her birth time. But I just pulled up, 10 p.m. because it's somewhere in the middle of 6 and 12, to be counted as the evening, quote unquote, at night. Okay. So, and she very well could be an Aquarius rising because her mom is very unique in her personality, and her mom is very zany, very Uranian, and her mom may have her moon in the 11th house. So, she may have passed on Aquarian qualities to her daughter to be that way. So, she was born a Cancer. So as I mentioned, that's the qualities of the father. So her pops must have some Cancer energy somewhere. Now, what is unique about her chart right away that I noticed is she has what's called a grand water trine and also a grand earth trine in her chart. And those can be a blessing. That means that she has 3 planets that are in the same element, and they form this triangular configuration between one another, which means they send a flow of positive energy back and forth. Okay, so her sun is the conscious expression of herself, and she has it in Cancer, a water sign. It makes an aspect to Neptune, which is music and art and the ultimate like glamour, beauty, all that stuff is associated with Neptune. Fantasy, all of that, so she will have some elements of that to her personality. She will probably be interested in music, just like her parents. And it makes an aspect to Jupiter in Scorpio. And Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius. So she's not a Sag sun, okay, like her dad is a Sag sun, but her sun makes an aspect to the ruling planet of Sagittarius. And that will give her some of those Sag-like qualities. And her dad very well may be a Pisces moon with her having the sun in aspect to Neptune. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces. So that would give her some Pisces type qualities and some Scorpio, which both her parents have Scorpio planets, but also some Sag because it's Jupiter that rules Sag, So she will express herself in ways that incorporate all of those energies. You know what I'm saying? And her sun is in an opposition to Pluto. Pluto's a ruling planet of Scorpio, gives Scorpio its qualities. It's all about power, hidden secrecy, and all that stuff. So a lot of times when I see a sun and Pluto opposition in a chart, that can indicate power struggles with the father. So she may, be kind of rebellious in a way. She's a Cancer, but that doesn't mean all she's going to do is sit there and cry every day, all day, okay? She is going to be a person that wants to have great power and may go through struggles with other people who are in positions of authority or power themselves in order to get it. And a lot of times the Sun and Pluto opposition, yeah, that's what it is, you know, and that means it does give her some like scorpionic vibe to her too. And the Sun and Pluto are very powerful. They both rule power in their own ways. Powerful masculine type of an energy to be in charge and be unstoppable in some way, you know. So she will have that within her too. Now, this is the thing where I was like, "Oh my goodness, this kind of confirms for me that Cardi B has some Gemini or Gemini-esque energy within her chart. Like I've always suspected, okay? The baby girl was born with a Gemini moon. The moon represents the mother, the qualities you inherited from your mom. So she inherited some smart ass Gemini from her mom. So she's going to be definitely quick witted. Her mind is going to move very quickly. You know, I've seen Cardi B on her Instagram lives, and most Geminis, they don't really pay attention to all the comments that fly by. They'll just get on live and just go blah, 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 say a bunch of stuff and then sign off really fast, you know? That's what Cardi does. Her daughter is going to be very Gemini as well. So you know that meme going around of Cardi as a little kid, and people are putting little quotes that she's probably saying, you know, little smart ass stuff with like her hand on her hip, like my mom said. So her daughter is going to be like that. Yes, indeed, with that Gemini moon. So her daughter may actually be interested in rapping or something too, because once again, Gemini is the sign that rules rapping. Okay, and then she has Mercury in Leo. Mercury is how you speak, how you communicate. Leo is a very loud and proud sign. So, and is very animated. Mercury and Leo people are some of the best storytellers. Okay, so that's how she's going to speak. And I think she may have gotten that from Cardi too, because I think her Mercury may be in the 5th house of her chart, which corresponds to Leo, the 5th sign. So she talks loud like that too, you know. So her daughter's going to be animated. She's going to be wanting to show off and everything, even though she has that Cancer sun, which can at times be kind of shy and reserved and want to stay in its shell. How she talks and expresses herself could have an element of Leo to it, okay? And she has a Mercury and Mars opposition, so you know she's going to be a bit combative and rebellious with the way she speaks as well. Now, she has Venus in Virgo, and I believe Cardi B to have Venus in her 6th house. And those two things correspond to one another as well. So Venus in the 6th house, or Venus in Virgo people, you notice Cardi, she's always talking about women's hygiene and, you know, how they take care of their lady parts and all that stuff, and she'll crack jokes about it. Well, I think that's, you know, that's what makes me think she has Venus in the 6th. So her daughter is going to be very similar, with liking to crack jokes and just, you know, Venus is what you enjoy in life. So her daughter is going to enjoy things very in a very Virgo type of a way, and she may express her femininity like that. Maybe when it comes to wearing makeup and how she looks and stuff, she may be a little bit more subtle. Once again, if we knew her birth time, we could see a little bit more detail. But just in general, Venus in Virgo, it's like a little bit more low key with how they dress, you know, and how they look. They like a more natural look, a more innocent look. And her Venus is in a grand earth trine, like I said. So Venus and Saturn and Uranus, that means she'll have a pretty good she'll have a pretty good like enjoyment of things that are old and that are new. Like she'll be able to keep up with the trends of what's new, but also appreciate history and, you know, how things have been already, you know, the forefathers, but also look ahead to the future and what's coming. So she'll have a good feeling for that. So maybe she could be into fashion, you know, like adding classic with future, you know, with the way that she dresses, or if she does decide to get into fashion as a career or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, that's what I see for their daughter. Like I said, if I had her birth time, And she's brand new, so I've never seen her personality or how she looks or anything yet to give any more details. But, you know, if more of them come up, if TMZ does like they always do and post birth certificates or anything like that, and we get a birth time, then maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 and let you guys know what I see in her chart. But one last thing I wanted to point out is her moon in Gemini is likely conjunct the fixed star Regal. And a lot of people who have this are said to be people who end up having a lot of riches or fame. You know, they end up with being able to have lots of smart money making ideas, because this is in the sign of Gemini, which is a sign that is very you know, mercurial. It comes up, it's an idea sign. They can come up with stuff like that. So, you know, that's the fixed star there, and her moon in a conjunction with that. It can mean also she's going to inherit that from her mother, with that being the moon conjunct Regal. So that's pretty dope, pretty interesting. And she has the North Node, which is her karmic destiny, in the sign of Leo. So she's definitely here to do some Leo things, okay? She's here to also entertain and perform. So she may want to get into that when she grows up. And if she doesn't do it like globally or internationally or whatever, then, you know, she'll still probably have a lot of that into her personality, like the entertainment factor to her personality. So hopefully their baby girl is healthy. And you know, if any more info comes out, I hope to do a part 2. But that's it, you guys. I've rambled enough. Hopefully you guys learned something new, or, you know, confirm some aha suspicions about things. And if you would like a personal reading, if you want me to ramble on forever about your chart or your relationship or any, you know, anything like that, then hit me up. My website is indigomoonastrology.com. I always have some specials going on. Okay, look in the description box for my contact information. I'm also on Instant Go, the app on iOS, where you can text me astrology questions and have a reading that's text to you if you're a little bit more verbal, okay? So I know this is a little bootleg, it's just a voiceover, and I'm a multimedia person. I love to do all kinds of fancy editing and all this stuff, but hey, you know, just to get it out there, this is what I'm doing. Not fancy at all, but I still hope you guys like it. So drop some comments below if you guys have any suspicions about maybe what the baby's rising sign might be, or offsets, or how you feel about Cardi B's chart, what vibes you get from her. Do you guys agree with the Gemini, or do you see something else? Let a ninja know. All right, so until my next video, I am peacing out. So take care, guys.